I've been watching your content for a while now, but you really kind of blew up with the Aboriginal joke with the petrol sniffing joke, right?
Yeah.
Which which I don't know why, but pissed off a bunch of people. I mean, to me, growing up, like petrol sniffing jokes are kind of just like the normal joke. Like that was like told like a million times at school. It's kind of like a
Mm,
very high school type of joke. So
mm.
it was interesting watching people melt down over a joke that's been said over and over and over again. Um, and I thought it was, I thought it was funny. I was making jokes on there. I'm not sure if you were reading my comments on the videos. Were
Well,
you reading my
no, but
comments?
there's so many comments. Like it blew, like it went so massive in like 12 hours. There was thousands of comments. It was crazy. It was like 80,000 shares within like 12 hours. And I just could not see. Oh, there was a lot of hate comments. I just switched off and I was like, what the heck is going on? And then they took it down like 2 days later or something.
Yeah, I saw that. So, well, I'm glad you kind of didn't read my comments. It kind of inspired me to be a bit like get my ruthless side, but like in a funny way. And I was like saying, guys, don't worry, like, don't take offense to this. Actually, wait, you can take offense to this if you want, but I was like, guys, don't worry, like, this joke's actually hilarious just because she's a woman. Women aren't really funny, so like that's why you're not laughing. people got so, people were getting so mad at me. I was like, come on, it's true. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
most comedians are men. Like, let's not like it's like this. And I was like, come on, it's like chefs. Like, women say they're good at being like at cooking, but all the top chefs are men. Like, what you get angry at me for? It's not my fault. And people like, fucking shut up, you bastard. I was like, come on, dude, it's funny. Anyways, I thought that was funny, but people didn't really bite onto it as much as I thought they would.
Well, yeah, there was just so many. There was so many of those like woke offended people in the comments, like more than I'd ever had before. Like, obviously, my content, the algorithm just goes to the people that it's like good for. But this one just got spread to all the woke people as well, and yeah, they were just like going nuts. It's like they'd never seen something like that before. What have you been?
Yeah, it's like they were hiding, like after 2020 when Trump won, they were like hiding for 4 years under bunkers or something like that, and then they just came out in the masses. But no, it was funny, and it's kind of what I wanted to chat to you about was the idea of freedom, the idea of comedy, because like I'll share some stories about comedy myself and how it's been important to me. But before I do that, let me just go take my retarded cat outside, and my dog is like keeps pushing my camera around. So if you see my camera moving, it's because my animals are just going crazy right now. So
Mm-hmm.
give me 2 seconds. Let me
All
sort
right.
this out. But yeah, what I was saying, comedy. For you, what was comedy? Like how did comedy came to be for you as a was it something you as a child you were drawn to, or was it something that happened later in life? Because everyone's story is different. Some comedians don't find the courage to start doing it until much later in life. I find, but yeah, for you, what was your calling towards it?
So I used to do music and I was like a musician for a really long time since I was like 4 years old. I was making music. And then after COVID, during COVID, I made an album. And then after it, I was just like, I needed to finish it. And I don't know, I had it in my head because I was living at this point, the Mornington Peninsula out of Melbourne. And then
Okay,
I felt like I needed to get out and I to finish the album. And I felt like I needed to go to Byron Bay, and then I moved to Byron and I finished my album. And I did finish the album, but then what happened was that I started to get these funny video ideas for social media. And at the time, it was like I was kind of into social media, but wasn't really. And I just saw it as a way that could help with my music to help get it out there. But for some reason, I started to get all these funny ideas, and I was taking the piss out of like Byron Bay and like these characters and these people I would meet and the spiritual community and the hippies. And yeah, so I started to do that. And that was about nearly 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And yeah, the videos just started to blow up. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. I quite like this. And so I just kept getting all these funny ideas. And I kept doing that. And then I was like, oh, I kind of want to do stand up. And then I went to Austin, Texas last year and then did a bit of stand
oh,
up.
okay.
Yeah. And then,
Where'd you go in Austin to do stand up? Did you do like the mothership and stuff like that, or?
yeah, so that was my first night of stand up was like 4 days when I went there. Did it at this little bar across the road from the mothership. And then the second day of stand up, the next day, I did it at the Mothership. I got that open mic, and then at Kill Tony, that was my third
Oh,
ever stand up ever.
so you actually were on Kill Tony?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow, cool.
It was pretty crazy. Like I did get a big joke book, but I messed up. Like my first joke landed really well, and then I just got in my head because it was like my second day stand up. I was freaking out. It was live to like 2 million people. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, was it your second day ever doing stand up? You were on Kill
Yeah.
Tony? Shit. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it's pretty
hilarious.
crazy. And I was doing like an N-word joke as well, so it's
You were you were doing a what joke, sorry?
an N-word joke.
Oh, damn. So yeah, what was like, you know, because you say so music kind of inspired you, and I guess
Yeah,
music you can
well,
say,
it was kind of like I saw social media as this thing to help get my music out. Like I was
yeah,
just like, well, the music industry didn't really care. Like I have so many things to say about the music industry in Australia right now, like Triple J, all of that. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But
like triple gay.
Triple J, no, Triple J,
Oh,
but they should be called that. But yeah, and I just saw like, well, they're not going to support me. Like, I've got to do it on my own and do it. And I saw social media as that kind of path, but then it
yeah,
ended up just being completely different. And obviously, God had other plans for me. And I'd like looking back, I always loved comedy, and I always watched stand up, and all my favorite TV shows were comedy TV shows. I was always having fun, like making fun of people, making fun of myself, taking the piss. So it was very natural for me, but it didn't really start until the video started, really.
yeah. So when you were what was that initial reaction like? Because obviously, as a musician, that I guess there's not like being a musician and having that courage to sing is, that's quite a deep, meaningful thing to share your voice to the world. Like that would give you the first window into what it's like to be able to perform. So,
Mm.
did you find much change in the way it was to perform musically against comedy? Like, was it very easy for you to transition into, or did you find it more difficult? Like, what would you find
Yeah, I found it quite
trying to
easy.
perform?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I found
okay.
it quite easy, but I'd still struggle with the live aspect. Like doing
You
music
get
was
nervous and
all,
stuff, or
yeah, yeah, super nervous. And
oh,
so that
really?
was always the same with performing music. I would get, like, even though I did heaps of gigs back then, I still got really nervous. And then, so that's still the same thing with comedy. I still get really nervous, even though I actually find comedy a lot easier, because you just speak. And if you mess up, you can kind of, make that a part of the joke as well. And people, yeah. Whereas
Yeah,
music, it was just a lot more like, because I was also doing it on my own. I had like a lot of stuff on the laptop, and things had to work electronically. So it was just a lot more to think about that way.
yeah, okay, yeah, because like for you, I guess, comedy. So comedy essentially was it originally a vehicle to kind of share your music because in the music industry in Australia, you're feeling like obviously it's quite left leaning and it's probably very anti-Christian at times, which it never used to be back in
Mm.
the day. Australia actually had a great Christian music culture. Um, but yeah, you obviously felt it like social media has been the greatest vehicle for you to kind of share your music. Does that desire still is that still there for you? Do you feel like your music is your overarching anchoring talent,
No.
or do you feel like comedy has now become your next phase, your next evolution in your career?
Yeah, that when yeah, I feel like it's music is really, I just kind of let it go, and it was happening during that time when the funny videos and the comedies started to arise. I By that point I was feeling so like didn't really like the music stuff, and it was almost like I just had to do it because that's always what I was doing. Like it was always something that I was doing, so I just went on with the habit of it. But
Yeah,
I realized like it was just not serving me. I didn't like it. I didn't want to perform music. I didn't even really want to write music. And so it's just worked out the way it has.
so how did you get into music? Was because you mentioned,
Mm.
so you're a Christian, right? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
are you one of those like Pentecostal Christians who go to who are at Hillsong Church? You know, 'cause there's a bit of song and culture around Hillsong, or you more of a traditional Christian growing
Um,
up?
so it's funny, my journey towards Christ has been an interesting one. I didn't really like I grew up in a Christian household, but it wasn't like we would
Yeah.
go to church every week. But
What
the
kind
thing,
of, do you mind, were they like
so my
Catholics,
it
Lutherans,
was Protestant. That was what my dad
Protestant?
was,
Okay.
Protestant. Yeah, and yeah, so we would still like grace every night for dinner, but that
Oh,
was
okay.
kind of the extent. And then obviously during primary school, we also had religious education and stuff. So it was kind of, always there. But then I got really into the spiritual community, which I now call like very demonic. And I
Like the
was
New
in,
Age kind of
yes,
like, yeah.
yeah.
So were you
And
into like Hermetic philosophy, occultism, paganism, witchcraft,
so
affirmation technology, that kind of thing?
it was more manifestation. That's what it was
Yeah.
called. The New Age
Like the
spiritual, like
secret.
tarot cards. Yeah, the secret
Yeah.
tarot cards, oracle cards. Getting your readings or like what are they called? Readings, psychic
Like
readings.
numerology and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Astrology, and then I started to like let go of that, and that's when I started to read the Bible. And also when I went to America, that Austin trip, I was already thinking like I should go to church. I had that feeling, but I just never did it. And then I met someone in Austin, Sarah, and she was like a hardcore Christian. And I was like, "Oh, can you take me to church?" And then she did, and then that's when I started to also read the Bible. So that was really only last year, started last year. So it's been kind of
Oh, okay.
new for me.
So you grew up with Christianity around you. You always had a desire, like you always had this spiritual way of being, and initially that gravitated you towards like more of that New Age spirituality, and then eventually you found comfort in Christ and were like, okay, I'm moving towards Christianity in a more fulfilling way. So as a child, did you always have a sense of spirituality? Did you have experiences that made you spiritual, or was it like what was the defining thing as a young Lisa that made you go like there is a God or there is something higher than myself?
I don't know. There was probably a little bit of like I used to love singing those Jesus songs, like Jesus loves me, yes I know, that one.
Yeah.
And I used to like music was a big part. I used to just love singing all those songs, and like we would do that in
Okay. Also, music connected you
kindergarten and
to Christ originally.
a little
Yeah.
bit, but I didn't know it. And then, um, but I had a bit of a difficult childhood. My parents were always fighting, and there was lots of issues. And I don't know if I think I remember praying sometimes, like when I
Yeah.
was a kid. So
Who'd you pray to? Like in your mind, what were you praying to?
I think it was God. I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, I can't fully. I just remember like, um, yeah, praying. So yeah, I think it was definitely God. Like, yeah,
And you
God
and you
was like
and
what I
you
knew.
and you felt comfortable when you prayed to God, like so it got you through kind of like a rough childhood experiences that you were dealing with.
I guess so, but I wasn't at a point in that where I actually truly believed it.
Yeah,
So it wasn't like when I was praying that I thought that that was going to help or anything. I just like it was more like
it
a
was more like a
desperation.
copium.
Yeah. Whereas
Yeah,
now it's totally my faith is totally different and it's transformed and I actually believe it. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because no, I share. Like I think there's a lot of people in your boat who necessarily didn't grow up. Like I grew up Orthodox, but I kind of fell out of Orthodoxy and became an atheist for 8 years because I used to love. When I grew up, I used to love reading Richard Dawkins, and I had a school camp where, because I've got a scientific background, just so you know,
Hmm.
like I got a degree in science, I've got a degree in mineral geoscience, so like I got heavily into science and growing up I was obsessed with the ideas of like becoming a theoretical physicist or like I grew up watching like Dr. Michikaku and all these people, and but Richard Dawkins really was drawn to me because I had a conversation with a friend about how you know it was kind of very it kind of hit me with nihilism. It was probably around the age of 15 And this conversation led me to a place where like, oh, maybe we are just all matter, and there is no spiritual highness. There's just like dead
Mm.
matter, and that we are just particles, and that's all. So I fell into that trap. So I I called myself an atheist, but realistically, I think I was more an agnostic. But there was actually deep, profound moments where I was totally an atheist,
Mm.
and I almost wore it like a badge of pride, essentially, because I was always a challenging figure. 'Cause even as a kid, I was challenging the priest, challenging, like I just thought like the Noah story, for example. I thought that was ridiculous, like a boat and like all the animals somehow sat on this boat. I was just like, that's the most crazy thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, how can that be
Mm.
real? So my logical brain was like in full swing, not kind of understanding the spiritual, metaphorical meanings behind all these stories. And
Mm.
then eventually, um, I kind of had a health issue, and I prayed, like you just mentioned, I prayed, and during that prayer, I just felt like an energy almost hit me because I was praying to God and I was asking for forgiveness. I basically closed my eyes, curled up in a ball on the ground, just said, "God, please forgive me. God, please forgive me. God, please forgive me." And I
Wow.
felt this like light hit me, and then I kind of passed out because this was after a night out in town. And then I woke up the next day, and no word of a lie, like I felt 70% healthier. Like a lot of my symptoms that I was dealing with, I was like spitting blood and stuff because I used to be a heavy smoker,
Wow.
and all that kind of just literally went away overnight. And that kind of was such a transformative experience that it really shifted my entire perspective. And it's I'm glad like hearing your story kind of reminds me because I didn't go straight into like I didn't go straight into like Christ as in the Orthodox Church or churchhood. I went straight into occultism. I went straight into Hermetic philosophies. I went straight into more of the New Age science stuff because growing up as a kid, my mum was quite spiritual, so like I had a really weird
So all the
childhood.
women. God damn it.
Yeah, yeah. I had a really weird childhood where I believed I was Egyptian for the first 7 years of my life. Like I refused to believe I was Greek, Australian. Like I was I was almost like a transgender, but not like with my gender, with my identity. I was more like I was a what would you call it? This could be a good joke, but I was just kind of like I just thought I was Egyptian,
Trans
essentially.
ethnic.
Yeah, I was trans ethnic. Yeah, I was trans ethnic, and
Well, that's what
my mom
I
did.
am with my Aboriginals and all that.
Yeah, you're a trans ethnic. Actually, yeah, you're probably the best person to speak to about this. This is probably
Yeah.
why I wanted to do this podcast with you so
Yeah.
badly. But
That's why you're close.
well, yeah, actually, yeah, we are. We're trans ethnics together. You one
Yeah,
minute
yeah.
you're Aboriginal, one minute you're Jew. Like this is perfect. So, yeah, I literally was a trans ethnic growing up, and I saw a spiritual person who was like specialized in past life transformation. And they kind of like
Mm.
said, "No, George, you're not Egyptian. You just were Egyptian at one point, and that part of your life hasn't left yet, and you kind of need to get over it." We did all these like spiritual voodoo. It wasn't voodoo. It was just kind of like you close your eyes and he walks you through your past life kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
And
I've
I got
done one of
over it.
those.
Oh, you've done one of those? Okay, yeah. So I did that, and I kind of got over it at a young age, and it was a big issue for me because it was affecting my schooling, my friendships, like everything, every part of my life. Like my teachers thought I was like fully retarded because of it, right? So um, eventually, yeah, I got out of that, and then so I always had like a spiritual side to me, but then yeah, as I became more clear in my convictions, as I had these miracles happen through prayer, I became closer and closer to God. But
Mm.
it's only recently I got closer to Christ in a more substantial way because I'd always pray to God, but I kind of never really prayed to Christ. It was weird. Like I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
Christ. Did you
Jesus.
grow up? Yeah. It was like
Yeah.
this Jesus was kind of disconnected from God for me. I don't know why. Did you
I
have something
think
similar?
yeah, I've definitely noticed that. Like I when I was still in the kind of new age thing, I started by the end of it started to pray to God.
Yeah.
And because I just saw the word God as like, okay, that's the word. But then when I started to read the Bible, it was like, oh, Jesus. Okay, Jesus is God. Jesus is Christ. And I felt like the word Jesus just holds a little bit more power. Like if you say the word Jesus, people kind of cringe if they don't really believe in him, or I don't know. It just seems a little bit more powerful or something. It's like,
What's more personal? It's like a it's like a human expression of
yeah,
God because
maybe
that's why
that's
like Christ is so powerful because reason why Jesus Christ is so unique religiously is because in every other religion, right, you have prophets. So God is always revealing himself through prophets.
mm,
The beauty of Christianity, it's the first time God actually reveals himself as a human rather through a prophet. So it's a way more connecting factor than example like with Judaism or Islam or any other religious kind of group, because it's like God has humbled himself enough to become human to reveal himself to humanity. That's very unique. No other religion has that. So I think as a human, when you see that from anywhere across the world, you can instantly feel a connection with God, because you're like, well, God literally revealed himself as a human, literally walked on this earth. No other story. Like if you look at the ancient Greek gods, they weren't humans. They were like demigods or like powerful beings who were with humans but never were kind of fully human. They were either like half human or human himself. Same with like Muhammad. Muhammad is a prophet. He was never actually God. He was just kind of like being translated through God or something. And same with Judaism, was always like God coming down, telling messages. So like there was always a disconnect. You always felt like God was something that wasn't part of you. It was always something above you or something out of reach. Where Christ is like the first time where you felt like at one with God through the meaning of it. And even last night I was watching a podcast with Matan, and he had a Rabbi Mitzchari. What's his name? Mitzrachi. He's like one of the most notorious rabbis in the world. He's like you should probably watch this podcast. Have you watched Matan yet? No, okay. I'm gonna send you some stuff you're really gonna love it, especially in comedy, because this guy I think is like the greatest comedian, and he's just a young Jewish guy, and he's so funny. Like he'll get like a bunch of rabbis on and a Christian and like a black Israelite, and he'll make them all debate, and it's like the funniest thing you'll ever watch in your life. It's like the most ridiculous. He's like the new Borat. He's like Sacha Baron, but like he's like the new upcoming
amazing
Borat. Yeah, he's amazing. He was really famous because he hijacked a game show, which was like a huge kind of like, it's like the Oscars for gaming, and he went up there just randomly, somehow snuck through security, and he grabbed the award. He's like, I want to thank Bill Clinton's rabbi, Hillary Clinton. And he said that in front of everyone. Everyone was like, who's this? Who is that? And then it's so fucking funny. But yeah, so yeah, that's I think why Christ connects with so many people. And with your comedy, obviously, people have massive hit at you around having a go at Aboriginals, right? That's essentially what the woke said. Like, you're like punching down or whatever.
They were upset that I did the stereotypes. That was, I think, also because I was getting so many, what's the saying? Getting so many nails on the head, because it was like I was taking the piss out of the trans stuff, because that's actually where it first was inspired by, was that Roxy Tickle guy was on this Insight SBS segment. And I just thought it was so funny. Like everything about it, it was like this guy saying he was a girl and he was playing this soccer. Anyway, it was funny. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to take that joke and apply it to race. Because if someone can change their gender, then let's go. Let's change our ethnicity.
Okay, and then so that's what inspired that.
That was the premise of it. And then it was also making fun of white people who claim that they're Aboriginal. So just by ticking the box, and they're like, I've seen so many of these people, and they exist. And then
I married one. She's white as snow, but her grandpa, like her great grandpa is like fully Aboriginal, like black, like Aboriginal, but like her other side is Scottish and English. So I don't know what happened in the gene pool, but the only time my wife looks Aboriginal is in her ankles. She's got really small ankles, so I think that's her Aboriginal side there. But
my ankles are Aboriginal.
Sometimes when she gets drunk, she starts acting a bit crazy. I'm like, mate,
just
can't you calm down?
Just keep the picture.
But yeah, like so she's literally one of those white Aboriginals. But yeah, it's funny. I talk shit, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
she's whole generation. So literally, her great grandpa were like part of the stolen generation. So like they were like taking, I think they were like not kidnapped, but essentially they were just kidnapped and then like bred. The idea was to breed out the blackness in them and then like make them into like white Christian kids, essentially. Yeah, which is like interesting part of history.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. Yeah. And then yes, I was making fun of the white people being claiming that they're Aboriginal or just ticking the box. And then then I was doing the stereotypes. So, but the thing is, I'd done this exact video, but doing an Indian as well. I've done two videos of
All that one as well, yeah.
yeah, and the punchline was that, well, the Indian ones, I dumped some rubbish on the side of the road, and then I also basically it looked like I was going to take a dump on the side of the road, and that was the punchline. And I was like, well, I've done that, and no one was upset at that, so I'll just do the same thing but apply it. And so I thought the equivalent of taking a dump on the side of the road was like sniffing a bit of petrol, and like I just didn't think much of it. So yeah.
Did you expect that reaction? Like, did that?
No.
Is that? Were you frightened, or like, because like it's kind of like the cancel culture thing? It was very reminiscent of, because that's how I came. That's how I came to be political. So I was part of the left, and then when Black Lives Matter happened, I made a post on Facebook saying that Black Lives Matter is ridiculous and that we shouldn't judge people by their color of skin. We should judge them by their character, their merit. And then I basically got cancelled. Like I lost basically 95% of my friends. And at the time, I was a big figure. Like I was in hospitality. I was running nightclubs. I was like quite popular in the sense of like socially. And that was like the woke white private school girls were like, "This is our martyr. Kill him. Kill him." Like it was like crazy, and viral. But for me at the time, I was a bit of like my mum was always, her dream was for me to marry a private school girl and like, and all this stuff. So she saw this as me like sacrificing my ability to marry into a private school girl. And like she fucking lost her marble and she like was like, you have to apologize. You can't. And I like young George similarly, he apologized. And now I don't apologize for anything if I mean it. But I was scared. Like I literally was like, because I had all these forces coming down on me. I still hold my beliefs, but did you have that fear, or were you kind of like, nah, screw it, like it is what it is? Like, what made you double down? Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I felt really strongly that what I did was not wrong. I just felt like, I not even felt like, I just knew it. Like I just knew that this was not wrong, and this is comedy, and I wasn't going to apologize for it. And because there was nothing to apologize about. It's comedy, and that's, if you don't like it, you just don't watch it. Like that's fine. And comedy is subjective, and it is what it is. And I thought it was really funny. So many people thought it was funny. So yeah, people just need to get over it. So there's that aspect. So I knew that I was never going to apologize. I knew that I was just going to double down because it was funny but the repercussions was that I lost a lot of friends, and I lost my job.
You lost your job, yep.
Yeah, and
did you have a lot of white friends before, like
no, but I mean there was just like the few people, I guess, because by this point I'd done a lot of trans jokes. I'd done, I'd taken the piss out of the lefties in Melbourne. So I'd already by that point kind of pissed off a lot of people and lost a lot of friends already. But this was like kind of like the
final nail.
The final nail. Yeah. Like, and I did kind of see it a bit like a litmus test. I don't know I think that's the way I started to see it, was like, well, if you were offended by this, then I'm sorry, you're not gonna find my comedy that or it's kind of like a litmus test for how much freedom of speech you believe in. And people were really trying to stop me from having, a platform. I was like, well, even these people that I knew,
Well, I guess for you, it's like also in terms of litmus test of like who are your true friends, because like a true friend will stand by you regardless of your, like people who are your true friends see you for who you are in your divine spirit, right? Like they know, and like even your true friends who say things that are malicious. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all humans are sinners. We all have like, we've all done wrong in some way. So it's
that's
like,
exactly right.
Your friends will stand by you regardless, unless you do something crazy. But even then, some friends will still stand by you, right? So it's kind of like you went through that purity test of your friends, and your friends, the friends you have now are probably your closest friends. You're starting to realize you might only have like 3 or 5 real friends. The rest were just fakers, really, or like auditors, or people who just like kind of,
exactly. And I also saw the litmus test kind of being online as well, like who's really conservative here or who is really, for Australia.
Yeah,
I really did see that there were quite a few people that were like on the right that were demonizing me. And I was like, why? Why are you doing that? You know?
who
I
are
knew that
you?
I
Are
made
like
names, but
yeah,
I
like
just
are you
saw
talking
it.
about?
Yeah, it's sort of
Are they
a
just more like
mismatch.
smaller profiles you're
Mm,
talking about, or bigger, even bigger people that you thought were like conservative or something?
yeah, bigger people I thought were conservative, but you know, maybe they'll come around. But I definitely just saw it as a litmus test, being like, okay, well, you're not sorry, you're
Yeah,
not really on the right, I guess, or you're not really conservative if you're trying to demonize me.
yeah, it's an interesting one because even freedom of speech, like I am a solid believer of freedom of speech, just like you, right? I feel like we're almost like the same archetype. We're like the challenging. We like to challenge people. I'm not. I'm just making assumptions here. I could be completely wrong, but I'm assuming growing up you like to challenge people. You'd sometimes just you like a troll. Like
Yeah,
growing up, I
yeah,
was a
that's I'm like a professional troll at this point.
yeah. So I feel like I'm the same. Like even in gaming, like I was the guy in the Call of Duty lobby saying the most outrageous shit just to troll people, or like even in sport, like I would just do really outrageous things. Like I might like pull someone's pants down a little bit whilst before the ball's about to come, and like or like punch him a little bit. You know, like I was a bit of a troll, even in
Mm.
soccer. So like there was like I have that troll side of me. For me, and one of the things that I'm starting to get closer to, especially with my relationship with Christ and the church, is obviously like growing up, I was an Orthodox troll. Like I'd troll my priest because I thought I was smarter than them or and I'm kind of like realizing like there's like freedom of speech was also like within that freedom of speech is also like the constraints of the church and like there's like tradition and things that are thousands of years old that I have to kind of respect. But also in my mind, like I still want to have that freedom to go. Like I'm not sure you know what Gnostic Christianity is. Have you heard of Gnostic Christianity?
Mm-mm.
So Gnostic Christianity is like the Christianity before all church. Essentially before there was an established canonized church by the Roman Empire. It's essentially like the most spiritual, most out there version of Christianity. It's something we probably should. It'd be a whole episode just to talk about that. Um, and if you express those forms of Christianity, it's basically heresy. So it's like you're breaking the rules of the church, and you'd be considered a heretic. And there are famous bishops from thousands of years ago, like Bishop Origen, for example, is a really famous Orthodox bishop from Alexandria who would express ideas that were kind of outside the Orthodox agreements, and it was considered heretical. But he was a well-loved and respected bishop, so it was very hard. He ended up he was denounced though for many centuries, but kind of got re-established later in life. But so there's a history even in the church, like where you use your freedom of speech, you actually can go against the church. So have
Mm.
you found yourself dealing with that with your faith? Like, what kind of Christian would you identify as? Like, are you closer to the higher churches, or are you more into the more heretical slash like the Pentecostal side of churches? Like, where do you
Well,
lie?
it's interesting because I mean, I this is kind of religion we're talking about, and I don't know if I really believe in like the idea of these religions. And look, I'm still working through it, but I just am reading the Bible, following Christ, praying, and following that. And then with the church, I've been testing a lot of different churches around my area in Melbourne as well, and the ones that I like are these like more Pentecostal ones. But only because I really struggle to go to these other ones that are like a bit more traditional, um, because the demographic is just a lot older. There's just a lot
Yeah,
more older people, and I'm just struggling to connect with people that way. And so I was like, oh, I kind of wanted a bit of, community as well. And yeah, I've just only really found the community that are like similar age and demographic as in these kind of more Pentecostal ones. But I don't really like those big ones. Like I went to these ones called Planet Shakers. They're all right,
okay,
but yeah, but I just couldn't. It's too happy clappy, too much sing song, and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Because I'm
funny.
still,
Like,
I don't know, I'm still like trying to decide on the church, but I'm also just, I've heard about these churches that are like more these Judeo Christian ones as well, and I'm like, no, please go away. Um, so yeah,
yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
that's the Schofield version of Christianity. So that's like the evangelical it's called dispensationalism in Orthodoxy. So it's the essentially so in Orthodoxy, which is we believe are the highest church. So just to give you a little bit of background, in Orthodoxy we
Mm,
believe like we are the oldest and most organic form of the church. So like where the church as Christ set it out to be, and our traditions that we've held for 2,000 years are exactly how it was when Christ taught it to the disciples originally. So even the language, the way it's performed, all that is like hasn't changed at all. So it's like if I
mm,
could take you back with a time machine 2,000 years and put you in a Christian church, this is exactly what the church would be like. So the whole idea of orthodoxy is like regardless of the world's trends or the world's like whatever's happening in the world, no matter what, our church will always remain the same. So like it's like a
mm,
stronghold theory. So it's like the world could be fully degenerate. Like every girl could be doing OnlyFans, every guy could be an absolute raging whore. But no matter what is happening in this society, you could always find an Orthodox church, which would be the original 2,000-year-old Christian church. Like that would never. It's not like we're not going to change. Where for us, other Christianity forms, which we consider heresy, by the way, is like another form of paganism. Like prosperity preaching for us is like a form of heresy. It's like you can't like Christ or God isn't there to ask for things. Like God is there to fulfill a spiritual need. It's not
mm,
there to be like used as a tool. Like where like this secret, for example, like manifestations, like you're asking for something. Where as a godly being, you're not there. You're not meant to ask for something. You're just there to kind of be with Christ, be with God, and ask for mercy, if anything. Because at the end of the day, your destiny is in the hands of God, and your life is in the hands of God, and you can just be the best version of you. But you can't control the conditions of the material world. It is what it is,
mm,
right? So I
mm,
guess for me, that's why I was drawn to Orthodoxy because I wanted to have the stability of that stronghold where there's a church that doesn't change or bend just because of like a trend or some sort of hype. It just stays as it was in its most original form. And then if I want to explore my deeper, more spiritual understandings, and that's something I can hold personal to myself, I don't necessarily have to share to the world or like challenge the priest, but I can still have those in my mind and then have that kind of relationship with God that's more deeper and connected beyond a church or beyond a community. But if people ask me, like if you ask me questions about my faith, I'm more than happy to share. And I've had these conversations like with some pretty notable Orthodox people, and they would call me a heretic. Like George, they'll just say, George, flat out, you're a heretic. Like the fact that you believe any of this Gnostic stuff just means you're a straight up heretic. And I adamantly disagree with them because in a material sense, adore the Orthodox Church. I think it is the greatest, the most highest church. Like I feel like I go in there. I don't know ancient Greek, right? But I don't need to understand anything. I just go in there. I can feel the energy. Like it just like at all power levels. Like if I went to Hillsong, I can understand everyone, but when I'm at Hillsong, like I feel like I'm at a nightclub and everyone's just trying to fuck each other. Like that's honestly how I felt at Hillsong. Like it didn't feel like a church experience. It felt like just like a Christian nightclub. Where at the Orthodox Church, it feels more like an energetic, spiritual Christian experience, and like I'm there with God, and I'm like I don't understand what's being said, but I'm like feeling the energy of God, and then I would
mm.
leave way more fulfilled and full where at the Hillsong Church, like it was a lot of fun. Like you're right, it's like very clappy and like everyone's dancing, but I always felt like that guy's just trying to fuck that chick. Like this is what the hell's going on. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah.
was like it was very disconnected. I'm not sure. Like I'm just sharing a story because I'm oversharer, but anyways, yeah. It's just interesting to hear your perspective because I feel like yeah you're in a very unique position because you're like in the start of your journey almost in this, and I see a lot of similarity with what you're dealing with, what I dealt with for many many
Mm.
years. What do you think for you is like why? Like for example, you recently did a joke about the Jews and you use Monopoly as like the vehicle to kind of lay out your joke and point out a few funny tropes,
Mm.
stereotypes around, especially Zionism, I guess you could say.
Mm.
Um, why why is that something that you felt drawn to in terms of making joke of? Is it like what was the next inspiration for Jewish jokes now? Because like,
So Yeah, I mean, I've done quite a few Jewish jokes. I've had
Oh,
a
you haven't.
like I yeah, but not in this way. I didn't do the identification one, but I've had this what do you call it? A type of skit where I've done many times and I've had many characters in it, and one of the characters is an NSN guy, like the Nazi guy, and then I've also put a few Jewish ones in there, Zionists in there as well. So I've done a few jokes, but for me, it's more about making fun of this sacred cows. This is what I call it. Is these sacred cows, and it's basically the thing that you're not allowed to make fun of in society, and they've got some sort of protection around them. So that's the Aboriginals. That's these migrant types. Make fun of multiculturalism. Anything that's kind of like something that these powers are saying you can't make fun of and you can't criticize, and that's where I find the biggest the funniest jokes is because it's like people want that relief, and people want to be able to criticize these things, and so comedy is that kind of vehicle to criticize, especially satire, which is what I do mostly. It's satire, and so sometimes it's not funny for some people, but it's if you've got that same kind of perspective where you want to criticize these things, or not even criticize, but like critique these things in society, then comedy and satire is a great vehicle to do that, because it's smiling and laughing can really dismantle that power, and can make you not take things so seriously. And I also think it's really important for ourselves to not take ourselves so seriously. Like I do urge people that if they're offended, that maybe they can just start loosening up a bit and start laughing at themselves and start laughing at these stereotypes that people are pointing out in them, because stereotypes don't come out of nowhere, they're earned. And of course, it's not everyone, but it's more of just like a general statement. But if you can make fun of yourself, it's just like a whole other level of life, living life.
Yeah, it's like a humbling experience almost.
Yeah. So that's kind of
you're
where it started, to make fun of like all the different sacred cows. So I will definitely, people keep saying, whenever I make fun of Jews, you always get the comments being like, well, what about Muslims? You're never going to make fun of Muslims. I'm like, dude, I've made fun of Muslims before. I've done it. But sure, if you want this exact video, I'll give it to you and I'll show you that I am making fun of everyone. You're not special. I'm doing them all.
Yeah, no lies matter. What's going on here, you know? It's like, no, I hear you. So your intentions, so your comedy, you feel like is a vehicle to humble the world and tell people like, chill out. None of you like, stop acting like you guys are untouchable. It's like, and you mean that to every kind of sacred cow group.
Yeah.
It's not like a specific thing.
No, but I'm aware that it's not like. I'm aware that there's definitely a power above all of this.
Yeah.
And yes, I take the piss out of that as well, but it's like they're like the little puppets from that. So you kind of have to do all of it. You can't, And it is the point of satire is to make these criticisms and critique using these jokes. That's the point of satire, and that's why it can be very divisive. And some commentator said, "Oh, comedy is meant to unite us." No, that is never been the case. Comedy is not meant to unite us. It is a way to critique using humor. It's the jest, and it's very important in society.
Yeah, and it's like kind of the role of the jester in terms of like medieval times. Like the role of the jester was, and it's kind of going back to almost, like the jester card in tarot cards. It's like the expression of saying the things that no one else will say, so that it reveals truth, so that those who are in power can kind of self-reflect and go, maybe I'm doing something wrong here, or maybe there's a way of being with my power that's not workable for society, and I need to kind of check myself and like. It kind of gives space for people to be better humans, especially those who do wield power. Is that kind of what you're pointing at?
Yes, and I'm a big fan of Harry Potter as well. And there's this thing that it reminds me of is that part of Harry Potter where there's that scary I think it's called like a Margaret or so, I can't remember what it's called, but the spell was ridiculous. And you had to basically picture the scary thing that you're really scared of, like, because it could change form and it could turn into something that you're really scared of. And so then you had to dispel it by mocking it and thinking of something really funny that you could laugh at. And that really shows exactly what this is all about, is that you can't really be scared of something that you can laugh about. Or you can't really, because otherwise, I think if I didn't have this laughter and this ability to make jokes and stuff, I think I would just be like an angry hag, just like criticizing things and just being hateful and just being like, oh, this thing is happening in this society, I hate it. Whereas when you can make jokes about it, it just makes it helps. It's like a coping mechanism, probably.
Yeah, okay. So it's almost like a sense of like there are uncontrollable powers that do have an effect on everyone's life, and sometimes the best way to deal with the fear around these topics is to make fun of it in a sense, so you can kind of relieve yourself from the fear of what that thing represents as well.
Yeah,
Is that what you're
yeah,
saying? Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And specifically with, I guess, the Jewish, question, is that a lot of people are starting to wake up to how much foreign influence we have, not only in Australia, but also worldwide, in America and all of that, and, the Western countries. And so people are getting really angry, really upset with what they're seeing. And especially when we're seeing our kind of societies become more degenerate and, more there's a lot of whatever structure and all of that. And so, yeah, it only makes sense to start mocking it all. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're just going to have. We're going to have a lot of angry people. I think it is good to have people angry and get people to actually take action. Like, we need to do that. You can't just live a passive laugh and just, laugh about things. There is a balance, but I think you do need a bit of laughter in it too.
Yeah, well, that's the challenge because you have two kind of groups of people, right? You have theologically aware groups of elites who come from every theology, Islamic, Christian, and Jewish, right? And these guys are hyper aware of their religion and hyper aware of their ambition. Like, you have rabbis, you have priests, and you have Islamic rulers or leaders who have very fundamental beliefs around what they believe is cosmic law of the universe, and they will, with every action they take, they will do stuff to push forward this way of being. So, like, for Jewish people, as Goy, we have our own version of heaven. We have our own set of rules. They call us the righteous Gentiles. So the righteous Gentile is like someone who can live a righteous life and still go to Goy heaven, but you're not truly a Jew, so you're not going to go to Jewish heaven, essentially. Then there's two levels of hell. There's like the Goy hell, and then there's a Jewish hell. So there's like two versions of hell as well inside of the highest levels of like Jewish belief. And then with Islam, you have the same aspects. It's like, you have to understand God through Muhammad and the Quran and the Hadiths and follow that way. So, and then in Christianity, the same way. You have the Orthodox Church, the Catholic Church. It's like, if you don't follow that way, you are a heretic. Essentially, you will burn in hell, or you may or may not. Like, it depends on what type of Christian you are. Then you have the second camp of people who kind of just want to live their life where they like ignore all cosmic law and just kind of live almost like on autopilot mode. They just want to like live their life. They want to watch their drama movies. They just want to have like a normal life, do the 9 to 5, not think about anything deeper, and just be humans and like have that human experience. The issue is that a lot of the people on the other side who are a lot more theologically grounded in their beliefs of cosmic law have a lot of power. They have a lot of influence. They own a lot of companies, and this goes for every sect, by the way. It's not just the Jewish. Like, Christians have billions and trillions of dollars worth of property and power. Islamic rule have huge amounts of money and wealth and power. So it's not like it's just specialized to one group. All of these theological groups like have their own version of power and influence, but they are more willing to exercise across broader communities of people who are just kind of asleep to all this. And I guess the question, the reason why your comedy could be so powerful is it's like you're kind of like awakening these like sleeping people who are like kind of living their lives on autopilot and not realizing that they're being influenced by greater powers who have like fundamental beliefs around cosmic laws and like where you will end up if you don't follow these laws. And their arguments are always like, well, look, it's my responsibility as someone who understands cosmic law to like push that cosmic law onto the people. So, if you do end up in whatever hell, it's that's on you. But I was there, always trying to help. And then you also have the evil side of it all. Like you have like things like pornography, OnlyFans. These are like companies that are owned by specific groups or specific peoples, or that do kind of accelerate degenerate behavior. And especially if you're living in autopilot mode, like girls these days would be like, oh, like in Australia, for example, it's like what 1 in 5 now women under 18 want to do OnlyFans. It's like they will see that as like autopilot mode. Like this is just a freedom of expression. This is just feminism. Like my body, my choice. But in reality, like in the cosmic law of things, it's like very, very unsacred and like very demeaning to women, and actually long term will have effects that they might not realize until like they're like 30, 40, 50. Some might not even have these realizations forever. They might just live in full copium for the rest of their entire lives. So what is like the future of is there like a vehicle, like is that what your intentions are like truly, like is that how you feel about the way that you're being in terms of your comedy, or are you not even there yet in terms of your thought, like, or do you not acknowledge that as a way of being just yet, or am I just kind of like pushing something onto you that you probably don't agree with?
No, I definitely think about it a lot. I think well, how this even started, I think like it was probably meant to be, and this is what God wanted, and I feel that as like, okay, there's a purpose here. And then sometimes I question the comedy I make because it is causing division, but at the same time it is waking people up, and sometimes I get messages that are like, oh, I didn't know about this thing, I didn't, you kind of shone a light on that, or I've gotten like, oh, I couldn't laugh at that, but now I get it. And so yeah, it does take the special type of person to not, like, if they're unaware, or if they you're a bit sensitive to that topic, to not be offended and just to let it sit and see where it takes them. So it's kind of like you have to participate in it, and I can't bear all the responsibility on how people perceive it and react to it. But yeah, I do think about it sometimes and think like, what's the purpose? But then I do think there is a purpose, and whatever the purpose is, it's doing its thing. And I always have to keep checking in and be like, is this right? Is this good? Is this, God and all of that? And yeah, it is the way it is. I think a big thing though, that I wanted to bring up was, I think a lot of all of this stuff is to do with depopulation and, getting people out of the family unit, stopping women from having babies. Guys are just, traveling heaps and kind of distracted, playing video games. Women are doing OnlyFans, being promiscuous. Then you've got the cities. They force these more like 15-minute city vibes, and that's really bad for having families. And I think that's really the big thing here is the depopulation agenda.
Yeah. Okay. So, and it's for you personally, then, like, are you in a relationship, or are you?
Yes.
Like...
I am. Yes, I am. I will. Like, I would have babies right now. That's. I can't wait. But you have to. It's all in God's timing, I guess. But yeah, I just think people should not wait, and people should be having, if they're in a good relationship or whatever.
Yeah, because I guess my question for you is like, if I was to make an archetype for you and who you are right now, like, okay, so generally speaking, what you're doing is considered like the work of a warrior in a sense, right? If I was to make this more medieval. And I can point to figures like Joan of Arc or Olympia or Saint Adelaide. Like there are these people in historical past who Like, I'm not, so you don't have children, right?
No,
And you're not married, right?
no.
Okay, so there's like an urgency around that warrior life for you because sometimes, like for me, like I'm about to have a child, and there's a fear for me because like the more I go down this warrior life, the closer I am like looking at death. Because like sometimes when you push too far against truth, like there's a famous quote by Plato: "Those who speak the most truth are those who are most hated." And with
Mm.
hate comes danger, right? Because if you push too far, sometimes you can get yourself killed, essentially. And you know, we've seen lots of great figures who've been martyred in the past, I mean, Christ himself was martyred because he spoke so much truth to this world. It actually ended up he, you know, died for our sins, essentially. So I guess for you, it's like you're kind of living your Joan of Arc story now, like you know, but ideally, yeah, because I mean like if you do like this is kind of I'm asking you this because I'm also feeling this fear. It's like I know I'm about to have a kid. I have like responsibilities on the way. It's like if I keep going down this road, what does that mean for my future? And am I willing to lose like like if I'm having a family, there's like a responsibility of being alive to like kind of make sure that family can survive and do its thing as a father. And for you, it's like you're living your Joan of Arc story now. It's like because if you had a kid, I'm saying like you might not be as warrior
Mm.
like. If that makes
I
sense.
don't.
It'd be like,
I don't
do you
know. I
do you
think
feel that?
I don't know. I feel like I might. This could be just ultimate projection or something, but I feel
Yeah.
like when I'm pregnant and when I have kids, I'm gonna be like more hardcore.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because I want to know
I
like
feel like
how I want to
it's
know
gonna
how
work the
shield
opposite
mating.
way.
Yeah. Because you seem like this is a sound like you've got that shield maiden style Viking look about you. It's like, are you the kind of woman who's going to get pregnant, have a baby, and like, okay, let's turn this up. It's time to go. Like, whatever happens,
Yeah,
happens. Okay. So you got
that's what I
more.
feel
Okay.
like will happen. But I don't know. Who knows what will happen? But that's what I feel like will happen because it's like, well, now, well, then I have some babies to really think about, because this is all the stuff that you and I talk about, the future of Australia, like it's all going to impact our younger generation, and that's who we're fighting for. So when you add your own child to that, I can only imagine that I'm just going to be way more staunch.
Yeah.
Because like right now, it's like really, I'm just fighting for like, you know, I've got God first, family, and then my country, and it's just kind of an idea. I don't really, these future generation, I don't really know them, but if I really knew them, oh God, I would be fighting for them much more, I think.
Yeah. And it's hard because it's like as Europeans, like there's a sense of like I don't know, like we're being fed a story that Europeans are weak and we're pathetic and our fertility rates are shit and like none of us are having kids and like we're kind of being taken over essentially like it feels like that. And I guess it requires like courageous men and women and like I like using like I said the shield major of archetypes to step up and start being courageous and brave and using whatever vehicle they can. Like for you, comedy is your vehicle. It's like your Excalibur of King Arthur story. Like there's for me, it's like making reels and being creative and having these kind of conversations and doing my work with Turning Point or whatever it is I'm doing in the background that no one really sees. And then
Mm.
but they're like there is like risk, but also there is great joy in it all. And I think ultimately, like have you ever watched Vikings the show? Like there's like that. There's
Mm.
have you looked into? Have you gone deeper into like what your archetype is in
I've
terms of
no, no,
Okay,
no.
okay. Because yeah, I guess why I was asking these questions, I'm trying to prompt to see if like you feel that about yourself in any way. Like, do you feel like a calling, or are you just a natural expression of that? And I'm just kind of witnessing you do it because it's like
Yeah, I don't know.
if you're getting
I
so
have.
watered down, you kind of have there has to be figures like you eventually who stand up and go, enough's enough. It's time to like fight back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've always just been, with the music and this now, like it's kind of like my art. So it's always been the artist kind of, whatever you call that. that I thought that I was the artist. But and even artists, I guess they are doing that fighting back in society. You do get the real degenerate artists, like real lefties, like really malnourished artists. But I'm talking about the ones that are like really using their art form to push back on things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's also funny because I have a lot of family that have been in politics as well. So I've been around that for my whole life as well. So whether it's just like a upbringing thing, whether it's in my blood or I don't know, but it is what it is. You just got to go with it.
Yeah, yeah, and that look, it's been great to watch that because yeah, there has been. I feel like the last 20 years there has been a lot of just I don't know. I'm gonna use the word weakness, but like a lot of kind of everyone's been on autopilot, and
Mm-hmm.
the question now is though, and this is where it gets tricky, especially for people like you, is if you are going to take on the warrior archetype and do the thing that takes courage, how do you avoid being used by those elite?
Mm,
Sometimes, like like this movie that's come out, the Vigilante movie, like it's a great movie, whatever. It's fun, it's action packed, but it's also kind of like it's goy slop. Like it's kind of like it's like telling people to go and start just murking people, and like what kind of trouble does that cause? So it's like we're being pushed into different directions. Like anything that comes out of Hollywood, you kind of always have to ask, like, why is this happening, or why
yeah.
is like an actor who came onto the scene by doing a gay scene with Timothy Chalamet, whose last name's Hammer, which is a phenomenous name with like different meanings in terms of communism, Bolsheviks, and the war
Mm-hmm.
against Christians. Like there's all this like hidden meaning and messaging behind art. Like as an artist, that there's a lot of symbolism in art. So there is like you have to be responsible. Like even with me, like for the things I say, like when I was doing stuff around Iran or attacking the NSN for their paganism, I could feel like other forces around me using my own stuff, like to kind of perpetuate their own messaging rather than kind of what I was trying to point out. So
Mm.
it is almost scary, and then it gets the conversations like, for you, like, why is it so important that we care about this world? Like, is this world truly? Do you think this world truly is the expression of God, or do you think it's just a stepping stone towards finding our divinity again when we go back to, who we're truly meant to be in our soul? And it's a weird question, but like, why do you do
Mm.
what you do? Like, what's the calling for it?
Um, I really think it is this good versus evil thing, and I do question this. Like, I guess it's a question of faith. Do you believe in God? Do you believe that there's evil? Um, and yeah, and so I do believe that there's good and evil, and I think it is more of a spiritual battle. And I didn't really care so much about fighting for my country. That wasn't really a thing that I ever thought I'd see myself being a part of.
Yeah.
But the more I came closer to God, the more I started to wake up to it all. And it seems like it has been used, like destroying our nations has been a way to destroy us, and also it's kind of like Satan's work, kind of. So I see these, having strong borders and protecting our people as a godly thing. I think we're meant to be protecting our nations. So yeah, I think it's yeah.
Yeah, because
You
on
got
that, like, there's two groups of people. There's people who like want this kind of society where there's no like we're all gonna mix, and eventually it'll be like no white people, just be like a bunch of like coffee brown. Like we're all gonna just eventually globalize to the point where there is no such thing as like unique races. Like we're gonna like become like
mm,
this omni race, because we're all intermixing so much. And then there's
mm,
the idea of nations that have like ethno kind of states. Like you have the Chinese, Japanese, you have like, traditionally you have UK, which is like predominantly white people, or you'd have Australia, which was Aboriginal, and then became predominantly a white country. And then you have, so like, do you feel like globalization and the forces kind of want to create this like more of a mixed omni
yeah,
race of humanity? And is that is
yeah.
that is that an evil or good thing in your opinion right now? Like that's kind of the
I think
conversation
it's
I'm
an
trying
evil thing.
to.
I
Okay.
think it's an evil thing. There's I think there's beauty in our differences, and I think that we should protect those differences. And it's also just more of a natural thing. Like, I've studied science as well, but I'm also like a real nature lover, and I really look at nature and I look at plants and the way that things work in the world. And because we're a part of nature, our flesh is nature. So I can't ignore that part and just think, oh, we're just spiritual beings, we're just whatever, because we're not. We're that, but we're also our flesh and we're a part of nature. And you don't just go destroying nature. You protect things, there are certain animals in certain parts of the world, they don't just all blend together because or plants just don't blend together. There's certain ones that dominate, certain ones that you want to protect, certain ones that are unique. And if we just all had all the same plants everywhere, you'd be so bored.
Yeah.
I think there's a real beauty in protecting our differences, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But there are the types that want to dominate. There are the weaker ones, there are the stronger ones, and we do have to acknowledge that, and we do need to put up some protections around that.
So you feel like we need to like, hold sacred the diversity of humankind, and that looks like an expression of nationhood. So like countries having their own nation with their own ethnic peoples, they respect their own laws. But there's also, I mean, the only problem is there is also that masculine desire to dominate. I mean, like even in plants, there's like weeds that like have a desire to just dominate. Like in America, there's this very particular vine that just dominates and just destroys everything.
You do
So
pick
it's
out
like,
the weeds though. You clean up the weeds, with your garden, you do maintenance and make sure that some weeds aren't, overtaking ones, and, you do the pruning, all of that. So
so that's like the spiritual side, right? It's like, so you're saying like the divineness of us is that we are all divinely the same in a sense of spiritually, but in the material sense, there are differences, and using our divine selves, we can then use that as the vehicle to pick the weeds and make sure that we can still have this diverse garden, but we don't have that one weed that just wants to take over completely. If that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah,
Okay.
for
Okay.
sure. Yeah, I think it's important. I also see it as, when I've looked at human behavior as well, we also tend to be with our own kind. We naturally choose that, and that's why, you import a bunch of different people. They generally will end up in the same area, and they'll start to, kind of take over these areas, create enclaves or whatever, and then they'll have their own shops, and then suddenly, oh, they build their own, mosque or whatever it might be, and then, the more you bring in, the more that they just kind of take over, and it's only natural that these people just stay with one another, and they also look after one another. So then you get the politics out of it. So they're going to put their people first. They're not going to think about, my people's kind of thing. They're putting their self first, and then it'll be like their people first, their family, their God, and then it'll be like the country, the nation. But they're thinking of all of that like kind of last, and I don't blame them. That's what we do naturally, and so that's just when you acknowledge human behavior and just what naturally happens, you'll see that creating this whole multicultural like, brownness, I guess, is going to ruin our country. It really is.
Yeah. It's hard because I totally agree with you, but it's also like it's funny. It's because this is the most complicated part of that whole thing, right? It's like I totally agree, but then at the same time, like you could make a claim that, like Aboriginal would feel the same way about Australia, right? They'd be like, well, this was our country, and then like this weed came in and like kind of cooked it. And I guess
That's an interesting one. Yeah,
yeah,
I think the Aboriginal stuff is interesting because, I mean, I've been looking a lot at the Aboriginal, I don't know what you want to call it, the Aboriginal question, or just the understanding of what happened, and it is a lot more complicated. And unfortunately, the reality is that the British colonized this country, and that's where we're at. And we've built a lot of great things here. Not me personally, but the colony did that for us. And I think we do need to come together as Indigenous and Aussies, and just, or I don't know, it's so complex.
Yeah.
It is complex, but the thing is, though, is that they use that complexity and the pains and traumas of that time to take over our nation. They use it as a weapon, these communist kind of people. So that Aboriginal industry has completely been taken over by these communists, and they use it as a weapon. And so it's devastating because they're pushing all this stuff like, the white people colonized, raped, pillaged, blah, 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 blah. But it's the more they bring that up, the more it's just ruining us. Because there's a lot of people that had this experience. There's a lot of countries that were colonized. Pretty much every single country had people there before them. And, we've got to move forward.
Yeah, I agree. I guess for me, it's just like, that's the kind of conversation I'm having now, and that's when I did an interview with Dr. Mo around this, and we were kind of going back and forth on this. And what I kind of essentially said was like, he doesn't agree with the idea of might is right, but for me, objectively, might is right is just a natural thing that will happen, even in the animal kingdom. Like, you're going to have animals that dominate other animals, but not extinct them, because like then eventually that will create an environmental collapse. So humans are very good at extincting animals, right? And that creates you get like a biological collapse, and the whole environment will change. But the environment is resilient. Like, the dinosaurs got wiped out, and then they there was a comeback with other life forms. So like, life will find a way. To quote Jurassic Park, life will always find a way. And I guess for me, it's like, it's like, you said it before about picking out the weeds, but sometimes the weeds believe that their way of being is cosmically closer to the truth and will bring about better circumstances for humanity overall. So like, when I said to Dr. Mo around, okay, the Aboriginals got wiped out by the Commonwealth and the British, but if you look at Aboriginal culture before colonization, it was quite a brutal existence. It was like 25 to 30% murder rates. There was child sacrifice. There was like war tribes. There was rape. It wasn't like some sort of
there are lots of different tribes as well. It was like over 300 different tribes. They fought each other, not all of them, but they fought each other. And also, the 65,000 thing is a bunch of BS. They've actually found that the more recent Aboriginals are not the same Aboriginals, and most likely the Indians, most likely. And just there's so many lies in all of this, and it's
maybe the Indians are just coming back to get their country, right?
I know. I'm scared. I'm scared that the recent Indians are going to start claiming Aboriginality.
Well, yeah. Well, look, it could happen. My point is, I guess, like, there is a fine balance. Like, this is kind of where the NSN go too far. It's like they want to, like, I believe that races have their own unique capabilities, but I believe all races are spiritually, divinely equal, but we all have our own material differences. Like, for example, like, they're even just like with height, like, there's just people who are taller than me, and they'll be probably better at basketball than me. That doesn't make them better than me as a human, but at basketball they're much better at me at. Or like, there are races or cultures that have higher IQ levels. I mean, so on average their IQs are higher. Does that make them superior in terms of IQ? Does that make them better than me? Maybe in terms of intelligence, but maybe in other ways I'm better. So it's like, there are like all these biological diversities in every single humans, and we all can coexist together. And at time there will be overlap where one will try and dominate each other. And I guess the point is, like, how far do we go?
Sorry. Well, I was just going to say, what do you think, like, because, I agree, like, I don't think of, a race being more superior, all of that. I just see differences, and some have higher IQs, and although I do value IQ a lot, so I do kind of like see that as more
Superior,
better.
yeah.
But it's not necessarily that I think that a race is better than another. I just think there's different. But then I look at that practically, and I think, okay, well, if you put these same people in a school class, and then you're expecting everyone to perform the same, well, it won't happen. There'll be some races that generally will perform really poorly, some that'll be really high. And then what's going to happen? Well, all those people that perform really high are going to do really well. The ones are going to perform really low, going to do really badly. That's going to affect people's, lives really. And so then we also have, what's happening in Australia, more dominantly in America, is that there's a certain minority group of people that are committing most of the crime as well. So when you put all of these people together and then you expect them to perform the same, and you have the same kind of, I don't know what you call that.
Parameters, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are going to come up short, and people are going to fail. People are going to ruin it for other people, essentially. And I just don't know how you can really play that game. I see it as, well, I want to be around my own people because I get along with these people. We're kind of on the same wavelength. We have the same values, kind of similar behaviors. To me, that's really natural and it feels good. And I just think, why would you not want to be around your own people? I think that's, yeah. And I guess this push for people to migrate to so many different places that are completely different to their own, I think is just completely barbaric and unfair to them. And I guess there's a lot in that, right? Because they do cause a lot of the wars, and then, they push people out of their own country. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah, I guess, I think this is a great topic to kind of like conclude our podcast on, but I think the issue is if this is the knowledge of the universe, right? And there's everything we can know, and there are objective cosmic real truths. There are moral truths and there are subjective truths. I guess humans desire to know the moral truths, the moral cosmic truths. And for us, religion has been the vehicle and spirituality has been the vehicle to get closer to cosmic truth. And when you live your life through cosmic truth, generally it creates the better version of yourself. And that also is a reflection of its society, its communities. So where I find humanity, especially with different races and different nations, it's some nations might come closer and quicker to these cosmic truths, and because of that, they become the best versions of themselves, and that makes them more workable in certain aspects of life. For example, with the British and the America, that was with things like technology, with things like the inventions of steam engines and all these things, or medicine, or hospitals, or universities. For us, for the ancient Greeks, we were so close to cosmic truth through our paganism that we were creating things like democracy and politics and drama and comedy, and all these things came out of ancient Greece because we were living closer to the cosmic truth. And then eventually that cosmic truth or humans, their desires are well, we need to spread this cosmic truth, and that creates the idea of war. And war itself is this evil but also necessary. It's a necessary evil. It's okay, well, we feel like this is the cosmic truth, others should have this. But at the end of the day, that's kind of the animalistic side of humans, the material side of humans, where humans okay, well, that expression of the cosmic truth being needed for the world is the expression of Hellenic imperialism. So Alexander the Great at 16 was okay, I'm 16 years old, I was tutored by Aristotle, I'm highly intelligent, I'm one of the greatest military, if not the greatest military leader to ever exist. I must go and conquer Persia to get revenge for what they did to Greece. And that was the first time in human history where a man at 16 years old went and conquered 90% of the known world. And for the first time ever, he mixed Greek Hellenic culture, European culture in its first nuanced form, with Persian culture, the Middle East. And you had the coming together of Persian and Greek culture for the first time, which lasted 500 years, right? And this was at 330 BC. And then 0 BC, Christ is born, because at 7 years old, Christ then came with a message. So you had these two cultures coming together, both superior in different ways. Like the Persians had very superior cosmic truths, the Greeks had very superior cosmic truths, the Europeans, I guess, and the Persians coming together had these cosmic truths colliding and creating this thing called the Hellenic Empire, which spread throughout Egypt, Greece, the Israeli Palestinian areas, like all of the Middle East. And it worked, but it wasn't at like its truest form. So when Christ came, right? When Christ came and said, "Hey guys, we are all materially different, but spiritually we are all equal. We're all built in the image of God." That was like the first time that all of us could look around and go, "Well, we're all equal in spirit. So let's all like, you know, let's all come together on that principle." And that's where the church comes from. The church is like the idea that we could all be equal regardless of race or regardless of nationality or culture, as long as we're in the house of God and we're all around the principle of this divine equalness, then we can kind of best use it as a vehicle to get to the next step of cosmic truth. The problem is that Christianity is just one theology. Then you have all these other theologies who are at war with that. So we're all battling who's the closest ones to cosmic truth. And I guess the war is then, okay, well, if at the end of the day, truth is truth, and truth will always win. So what is the cosmic truth? Like for me, it is Christianity. For a lot of people, it's Islam, and for a lot of people, it's Judaism, right? So at the end of the day, there is an ongoing. Sorry, my laptop is connected to my phone, so just even if it's on silence, it still goes off. So at the end of the day, there is like this kind of spiritual war of cosmic truth happening, and I guess it's like we all are looking for that. We all, as humans, want to be closer to that because it brings us better versions of humanity, and what that looks like is very strange. And I guess for us, the conversation is like, okay, what does that look like in an ethno state? You know, is that important? That an ethno state is going to get us closer to cosmic truths, and then like, how do those ideas spread? Because like, naturally, humans will want to like they'll learn a cosmic truth, and then they'll want to spread it, and it will happen either in war or in ideas or in art or in music or in theater or in movies or in poems. Like, there's this like a natural inclination for us to consciously want to share that cosmic truth with all of humanity. Like, have you heard the story of those monkeys? Like, there's monkeys on different islands in Japan, and one of these monkeys like was learning how to crack nuts, but then consciously, this is an island where the monkeys are separate from the other monkeys. But as soon as one monkey figured out how to crack this nut, over like a period of decades, the other monkeys on the other islands, even though they never communicated with words, they all started like figuring out the same strategy. So it's like consciously connected. So it's like the divineness is like connected through something higher than just like words. So it's like for me and for you, if I could share anything with you, and that's kind of like I'm being a bit selfish here, it's like you being the best version of you and you being as close to the cosmic truth, which whatever that looks like, will help humanity regardless of how many millions of views you get. It really doesn't matter the success of your like content or the success of your art in the material sense is meaningful and impactful, sure, but the reality is the closer you can get spiritually to cosmic truth, that's actually where you will have the greatest impact on humanity. And you might like it might not even be told as a story or sung as a hymn, but it is part of the divine nature of this universe. That's kind of like the special truthness of it all. So it's like people go, oh well, like these monks who live by themselves in little caves and pray, or these nuns who sit there and pray, like they don't do anything for their world. They're just seeing they're useless. It's like, no, they're doing something so special that we'll never really truly recognize because we don't see it in the material world. So we're like kind of like we don't have the same respect for it. But it's I guess there is a fine line. And I guess my request and I'm not sure. You mean you're naturally going to do this yourself? Is like your art is a special thing. Like I really am enjoying your art, and I think it's great that like I see you as like a warrior. I see you as like a Joan of Arc, as like a field and doing incredible work.
Thank you.
And I just want to make sure that internally, the conversations you're having, the prayers that you're having, are matching that, and I think they are, and that will show materially. But that was why I was so intrigued to come and talk to you, because I feel like, it's like it's cool. Like I get to meet another warrior and be like, "Yo, good work." Oh, just chill. And yeah, I mean, for you, what would be your message? Is like kind of always my final question. Like, what is your who are you for this world?
Mm,
What are your intentions truly? And yeah, then we can sign out. But yeah, who are you for this world,
mm,
and what do you really want for everyone?
gosh, I think you gotta laugh. That's probably the last bit. You just gotta laugh.
Yeah, to joy, like
It's
the laughter of
yeah,
joy.
yeah. It gets you through the dark times, and it's a joy in the good times as well. So you just gotta laugh.
So if your legacy was to be, you are Lisa, the lady of laughter. Is that like was that if there was like Alexander the Great? Is it Lisa the lady of
I don't
laughter? Like
even. Well, I don't know. I don't even. Because sometimes I can be really serious too. So I don't know. I do like to end it with a little giggle though. So maybe it is. Maybe it is my thing. Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this
Thank
podcast
you.
with me and this interview. Is there anything you want to say before I let you go, or yeah, like
No,
a final
no.
message? What's the best way people can find you? Obviously, your Instagram handles. Your Do you have a YouTube account? Like, what's the best way people can follow your content?
Instagram's pretty good. X is good. I'm on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok. That's not very good. They put me in jail there, but yeah.
Are you considering any like are you going to do the Adelaide Fringe or anything like that next year? Are you having shows planned?
I am. There's a few gigs I'm doing this year for like different organizations, but none of them are really like comedy. But they've just hired me as a comedian. But um, then I'm, yeah, I don't know about the comedy stuff like the Fringe Festival or whatever they are, comedy festivals. Maybe I'm still a bit scared about performing, but I'll get through it.
Well, look, if you do decide, make sure you contact me because I've got some connections with the Fringe, and I've been involved with the Fringe my entire like young adult life, and actually have hosted comedy clubs and stuff like
Oh,
that in
nice.
Adelaide during the Fringe. Like I'm good friends like Amos Gill, Corey White, other comedians, and it was actually a comedian who first gave me my first ever podcast, Clay. So like a lot of my
Cool.
career I give to like comedian. Without comedians, I wouldn't be who I am today. So thank you so much for being that, and it was a pleasure to speak to you. God bless you, and
Thank you, you
stay
too.
safe. Stay safe. You as a warrior, you just stay safe. We all saw what happened to Joan of Arc. So, like,
Yeah,
I was reading
yeah.
the comments on your latest joke. So, I believe you'll be safe. I think deep down, God's got your back, and you'll be all right. And yeah, if you ever need anything, please reach out. And yeah, I'm keen to see more of your content. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.